like it was endless summer nights spent with you by my side. I could pretend you'd always be my lover. When you said I was your Venus, you lied. A look for the taking, close enough to see me in your eyes. Love was only ever framed.
It was sitting waiting for me this morning. Ta-da! Yay! So there's a good way to start the day, huh?
Wow, the post is working at your place. That's great.
Yeah, well, I just got a bunch of big boxes of record cleaning system that's like massive, and I just figured out how to put it all together. So now I have something to do. I can just go through all my records and clean them, vacuum them.
Wow, you could be in lockdown for another month and you'd still have records to clean, Marty.
Oh yes, definitely. So anyway, that's a good time. Now, so we need to talk about your record, obviously. But before we do, there was something that was brought to my attention that you did something with Amanda Palmer recently.
Yes, yeah, I
and
did.
I kind of wanted to know about that first, and then we'll talk about the record. So tell me all about it.
Yeah, Amanda was asked to do a song for Do Mi Re 2, which is kind of like a variety show that's set up to support abortion front and provide services for reproductive rights in the US and bring awareness and kind of through song and comedy, taking the piss out of really sexist songs,
right,
or trying to show them in their worst light, or so Amanda asked me if I wanted to collaborate with her, and we went into the studio and recorded this amazing mashup of Blurred Lines and Rape Me, obviously Blurred Lines being the sexist song and Rape Me being a feminist song,
right.
Yeah, it was a really amazing experience. And as an expat living in Aotearoa, it felt like I was doing something small, but at least something to help promote reproductive rights in the US.
Cool. Had you ever worked with Amanda before?
Well, Amanda and I had met and we've had coffee a few times. It turns out we're actually family.
I kind of heard that, but I wanted to get it from the horse's mouth.
Yeah, we're McKinnons from Scotland, and I didn't know that beforehand, and we haven't really delved deep into the family tree yet. But yeah, we get along really well, and we've been talking about doing something together for ages. So this was a really great opportunity. Cool.
Yeah, I think I found a photo of the two of you sitting at a piano somewhere. So.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm hoping that other people can see it in the future, but at the moment it's sort of sequestered somewhere.
Yes. Yeah, I think you have to be a Patreon member to be able to hear and see it.
Yeah, mostly it's about getting the rights for a song like that are pretty tricky. Yeah. Especially
right.
when you're not showing it in its intended light.
Yes, I'm sure. It's kind of like what Big Al or Al Yankovic has to go through when he does his like a sturgeon.
Oh yeah, eat it.
Eat it. Yeah, there you go. Only a little more serious. Well, it's pretty cool that you did that. So I can't wait to hear it finally. My older daughter is a Patreon member of Amanda's, so she's the one that's listened to it. And
oh, cool.
I'll have to go over to her house when I'm allowed out.
Yeah, that's right.
Anyway,
you get out of Alcatraz.
Yes. So now we need to talk about Iris. And of course, this is just a little over a year after your previous record, and it's been quite a year. So what kind of year you've had all sorts of stuff happen. I mean, you won the Tate Prize, you opened for Crowded House, you got great reviews, you did your Nick Cave thing again. I mean, it's been an amazing year for you. Does it feel like that for you?
It's hard, right, when you're in lockdown, because everything just feels like time has stopped and you're in transition and you're living in your house and you'll be here forever. But yes. Yeah, a lot of things have happened. We've done a lot of work and been very fortunate. We've had some great opportunities. So it's pretty surreal, really, because the Iris was written in lockdown last year and recorded in September last year. So to kind of be back here again and releasing this record that was born out of this kind of transitional time feels pretty surreal.
Yeah. Yep. So what kind of frame of mind were you in when you were writing these songs?
Well, I'd kind of gone into lockdown with this intention of writing a song a day, mostly for my mental health, just, to practice my craft. And I had no intention of doing anything with the songs. But I guess as we sort of emerged out of lockdown and things were feeling really uncertain and unsteady, I started thinking about how I would like to help use the songs to create work for myself and my band, and then, further down the track, be able to create entertainment for people. Just sort of have felt this quite strong responsibility to do something to contribute. And it's hard as a musician,
Yeah,
we're not really essential workers, but I do feel like art is really essential to these times.
that's true.
So yeah, it was kind of born out of this time of isolation and great change, not just within Aotearoa, but globally, this sort of sense that things were quite tumultuous and churning, and there was moments of real awakening, and then, contraction as well as expansion. So Iris really came out of that space.
Right. Now, did the rave reviews and success of the previous album weigh in on the making of this record much?
Well, weirdly, like, I'd released Reb Fountain.
Yep.
And then I was writing these songs, and we went and recorded these songs, and then we went off and toured the Reb Fountain album.
Right.
So it was kind of like squished in between, and there wasn't really any relationship at all. So certainly I felt like, as maybe most people do, some sort of trepidation or fear of people going to like it, all that sort of stuff. But I really needed to give myself the opportunity to just say whatever I needed to say and explore that. And then, musically as a band and a production, just, open up to what would be, irrespective of whether anyone liked it or listened.
Yeah. So you mentioned the band, Dave and Earl and Karen. And so how has the way you guys work together evolved, changed much since making the previous record?
Yeah, because Dave had co-produced the Reb Fountain record with Simon Gooding,
right?
But our band was only sort of created after that.
Yep.
So we did our first concert at the Others Way, I think it was 2019, and playing these Reb Fountain songs for the first time. So yeah, it was this sort of amazing thing to be able to have played with a band and created that sort of connection and family connection, and then to kind of bring that to a recording and the record, so that we were able to, I guess, bring more of our live performance into the recording in a way that we didn't do in the last record. And for me, I guess I feel like Iris is sort of an extension of what the Reb Fountain record was,
right?
In that it's taking everything a little bit more to the extremes, and it's got this great foundation of the rhythm section of the band, in a way, holding it together.
Right. Yeah. It's interesting because when the Reb Fountain record came out, I was very excited about it, because you obviously kind of moved musically and artistically into a different kind of place. And that was very exciting. And I really love the record, as you know. And so when this record was coming out, I was like, oh, now do I want it to be the same, or do I want it to be different again? As a fan, that's kind of how I'm thinking. And I'm wondering, as an artist, do you think like that as well?
Yeah, it's weird, I don't want to give you the same thing, right? Because I want to give you something new, but at the same time, it's hard for audiences to accept change sometimes. They want to hear the same songs over and over. So there is kind of this negotiation that we go through. And saying that, I hope that my audience, who've seen us play live and listen to the records before, have a trust there. We've developed a bit of trust that maybe something might feel uncomfortable or new, but that you're willing to go there, and it will feel different, but I think you're still going to like it.
Yeah, definitely. Now, you mentioned Simon Gooding, and you've been working with him for a long time. Like, I found a couple of your CDs from like your first two that you made, and he was all over them as well. I think he's like playing bass and stuff. So what is it about him that kind of you kept him in the loop there?
Oh, Simon's just genuinely like one of the nicest guys ever.
Right.
Plus he has the most incredible ears. Like he's just so finely attuned, and he's, an amazing engineer, so fast, the fastest I've ever worked with personally. But all of those things come together, and we do have that history. And I think for us, because we have that, we gone through a transition where he was in my band, and then he helped with some recordings, and then further on he was like the head engineer.
Yep.
And he just mastered something, and I think after Hopeful and Hopeless and Little Arrows, we were ready to do something that was new and fresh, and I wanted him to be part of that next journey, something that felt kind of liberating and joyful.
Yep. Very good. Now getting back to the record itself, all of the songs are yours except for one, which is written by Peggy Seeger, who is somebody who I actually spoke with a few months ago. So I was very excited to see her.
Wow. Did you, Marty?
Yeah, she's like 84 or something now. And she just put a record out, and, she was talking to folks, and it was pretty exciting. So how did you come across, was it Swim to the Star?
Well, initially Dave suggested the song quite some time ago, and we sort of put it on the back burner for ages and never really looked at it. But with the pandemic kind of, I don't know, it just sort of came to the forefront, and I started listening to it and learning it. And it feels very simple, but it's quite an intricate, complicated song.
Right.
It's so beautiful, and just felt like to articulate what we're going through on this deep level, this deep mythological level, which really resonated with me. And we ended up playing it on RNZ Live for the Reb Fountain New Zealand Live last year, and Peggy's partner actually heard it.
Yes,
because she lives
here. Yeah.
And she said, Peggy, you've got to hear this version. So Peggy got in touch, and we ended up having this email exchange. And I mean, it's Peggy Seeger.
Yep. Yep.
It's just surreal, and she was so beautiful and generous and incredibly supportive. I sent her both the RNZ recording, and then by that stage I think we might have even recorded the album version.
Right.
And she gave us 100% blessing and wrote this beautiful email and said it was like the best cover of a song of hers. And we're all, the band and I were all in tears. Like it's pretty special. And I got to meet her partner when we were in down south, and I was just actually packaging up an album to send to her.
Excellent. That's fantastic. That's very cool. So what were the sessions like? What was the mood like when you guys were in there? Were you all together? Was it a kind of a band-like thing? Were people coming in and out? What was the feeling?
Well, we ended up going to record Iris at a place called Sublime Studios, and it's this destination studio down kind of inland of Oamaru. And it was, level 2, I think, the second time around. And got on a plane and took a bus and got picked up and went to this just idyllic space, which is such an incredible recording studio, but also in the middle of it feels like you're in the middle of nowhere, but there's a winery and places to walk and chickens and doggies and Stephen Fenella, who run the studio, are incredibly hospitable and looked after us like kings and queens. So that meant that we were just in this space. After being so isolated and separated, we were together, the band and Simon Gooding and I, in this space for 2 weeks, just recording, and we could go for a walk with the dogs in the morning and have a beautiful meal together, but we were just able to do the work, and that really impacted upon the sound, I think, and the vibe of Iris, just the sense of space and the tension between kind of isolation and connection, which was really sort of thematic in terms of the lyrics.
Right.
Anyway.
And how do you communicate what you want to the band, to the engineers, to your co-producers, to what? Do you have to take on a persona that's different from like, because all of you are friends, obviously, everybody knows everybody in this country. So everybody's buddies, but work has to be done, right?
Yeah, work does feel different. Like I'm quite opinionated and clear, but I'm also really open, and I have quite a lot of faith in our respective relationships and our roles, So it's certainly not me directing everything.
Right.
When it comes to the songs, and there are specifics that I'm like, this is important to me, but there are also places where I'm willing to sort of be open to other things, which means that, Dave and I did a whole bunch of pre-production on the record and playing around with different ideas. And then when we got to the studio, and, Dave and Simon are kind of holding the fort, I can push back where necessary, but also, go with the vibe.
Very good. One song I wanted to touch on was Lacuna, which has this fairly very cool kind of buzzy guitar solo in the middle of it. And I was, of course, I didn't know what Lacuna meant. And kind of, as far as I can tell, it's like a gap or a missing place or something, but maybe you can tell me why it is what it is.
What a way to start, kisses in the dark. I can't behold the sum of us apart. It don't add up. I keep it to myself, won't you for myself. Solid gold is my well, it's weighing me down. I can't get up.
Yeah, Lacuna is like a space or a void. If you think of maybe bone marrow, where there's something in there, or something could be in there, or something has been in there before.
Right.
And I loved that sense of space and possibility, that you're in this moment of transition and you can fill up and then change and evolve. So, I mean, interestingly, with the song, there was actually Lacuna was in the song, the word, and
Right.
there was a whole nother section, which I ended up just chopping when we were in the studio, quite a lengthy section of it. And so in many ways, it's that classic thing of you have these experiences and this information that informs you, but it doesn't necessarily show up in the end product.
Yep.
And, which is sort of classic, really, for Lacuna. Yeah. But yeah, I was actually just looking at a little video clip I had of Dave doing that solo
Right.
in the middle. Yeah, he's a ridiculous guitar player, musician.
Yep.
It's great.
Yeah, he's always great, no matter who he's playing with or on his own or whatever. Good times. Yeah. So you did a lot of other stuff. Do the things like doing the Nick Cave night, or opening for Crowded House, does that impact on anything, on your music in general, these kind of events and things that you kind of go through?
Oh yeah, everything is material. Everything has an impact upon who you are and the artist that you're growing into or becoming, and the work that you do. To do a solid run of shows with such a professional band and incredible sound, and be in spaces like that was really inspiring, but also kind of taught us a lot about ourselves, that we felt okay in those spaces and we're ready to play in those spaces. We've done a lot of work, and so I guess there's gratitude all around really for that. The Nick Cave show was one of the most challenging things I've ever done. When I think about it, I still feel slightly anxious.
I just can't believe you could remember all the words.
I was pretty terrified that I wasn't going to. But the great thing about Nick is that sometimes he doesn't remember them either. So
right.
My stumbling kind of fit a little bit. But yeah, you learn how to have a better work ethic. You learn how to pick yourself up when you're feeling down and insecure, and like have your own back in a new way. So for me, performance is one of the greatest learning spaces.
Right. So are you thinking ahead now, even though the record's not even, well, it's coming out tomorrow as we talk here today, but are you, this was recorded almost a year ago. So where are you as an artist at the moment?
Well, it's interesting. I mean, most albums have a couple year turnarounds. So with Iris, it was really important to me that it didn't sit on the shelf for a couple of years because it felt very pertinent to this time. So the fact that it's coming out a year after we recorded it is just, it's kind of ridiculous. And saying that, it's a cool way to do things, to be able to create the space or take the space and make more work for us in the future. And I want to do something similar in a different way this time.
Right. Yeah.
But sort of working on that at the moment.
Are you, and do other things, other musicians, other artists affect you? Do you take things, you go, oh, look what so-and-so is doing. Maybe I could kind of use some of that, or is that how you work?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, we are all influenced by one another or by the world or by the things that we read or see and think and feel. And I'm, incredibly inspired by other musicians and their music, their work ethics, all of that. Yeah. And I tend to grab lots of bits wherever I can, things that I like. And over time that builds up a picture, Yep.
Yeah. Now I'll ask you a non-musical question as one expat American to another.
Yeah.
What do you make of all what's going on over there and what has gone over there? Do you feel a connection still? Do you think, oh, Jesus, do I ever want to go back there again? That kind of thing.
It is so hard to watch your country rip apart. And saying that, it's always been fucked up and fragmented and unjust and complicated. But it's, particularly apparent now, right? And, like about the reproductive rights, it's staggering. It's just heartbreaking. And, or the plight of people trying to come for, refugee or asylum status at the border, and just the way that they're treated, or the like prison population fueling the economy, just everything is hard. And, on the ground that it's not like that all the time, but for a lot of people it is. And particularly with, with COVID, it's just been so challenging. So yeah, it hurts. And it does feel personal because it is my place of birth, although Aotearoa is definitely my country, my home. As a migrant, you've got many homes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Or no home, as the case may be. It depends.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people like that, they just don't belong anywhere.
And so your heart is still there, or your family, or your memories, or your dreams, or your desires, and my family is over there, and I've been missing my whānau so much, and I want to go see them. And the thing is I could go over. I'm fully vaccinated. I could go over. I could go to the States or Canada. I just can't get back into the country.
I have the same problem.
And it's really challenging. I want, of course, maybe I could get my mom over here, but she hasn't got the time to be able to do 2 weeks in quarantine. And so, you can see what's happening in New Zealand now is stuff that was sort of happening in the States and UK and around the world a year ago. Because we've been quite, protected and fortunate, we've also quite behind. So there's this sort of extreme compression going on in varying ideologies and narratives that's happening super fast, It's an interesting time.
It is indeed. Well, thanks for that.
I want to say something positive to you. Shit, sorry.
No, you're not going to fool me. I know what's going on over there. I mean, I talk to musicians over there all the time, and the stories that you hear are just outrageous, you know, and the headspace that people are in, it's crazy. But there you go. So what are you going to do tomorrow when the record comes out? You going to have a good day?
Well, it's definitely going to be the most exciting thing that's happened this week for lockdown.
That's a plus.
Look, I'm going to get out of my leisure wear probably, maybe just for the day. I've got a few interviews. I'm going to celebrate with my band in the evening over Zoom.
Cool.
Yeah, I'm signing a bunch of records and, you know, say a cheers with my family and
excellent.
Just, you know, I just want to connect with people and share and if anything, you know, at this time that feels like productive and positive, and it's what I've got to offer. So, you know, hopefully it'll bring myself and also others some kind of joy.
Yep. That's what we're all about. Very good. Well, thanks. You brought me some joy today.
Oh, thanks, Marty.
Especially since I got this at the first thing in the morning. That was fantastic. I couldn't believe it.
That's amazing. That's so amazing. Well, I hope you enjoy it. And, you know, for me, I think, you know, in many ways, I think it's better than the last record. It's a journey, and listen from start to finish. That's the best way to listen to it.
Absolutely. Fantastic.
Yeah. And now you can clean it with your cleaning.
That's right. I can make it dirty first.
Yeah.
That's the fun part. But thanks you so
buddy.
much
You
for
take
doing
care.
this. Great to see you. Hopefully we'll get some shows soon and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. See you soon. Look after yourself.
All right. See you. Bye-bye.
Bye.